Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how to do it, even if you don't care. And I'm sorry for the extremely long hiatus I've been on. I just got a new job, not like a paying job, more of a gig on a new website. I'll post a link to the website in the video description below. And I should have some source material there fairly soon. Like I'll put direct links to the two things I've contributed to the website so far, and I believe there's a little commercial thing that I'll do up later. But for right now, so I do apologize. It's been mainly because of that and some of my other hobby things. I just basically have been having a lot of hard time getting enough time to do everything now. So these videos are probably going to become fewer and further between. And I do apologize for that. But first and foremost, I hope you liked the little video trailer for next week's battle report. It's finally going to be up. I do apologize. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But for right now, as you can see, I've got the two, pseudo-newish Forge World models for Eldar. I finally finished painting them up. This is a Warp Hunter, and these are the Shadow Spec Aspect warriors. Now, as most people know, these guys have been getting a lot of grief. Everyone's been looking down on them right now. Not big fans of them because of the point costs and what they can do and what they offer. And, can't blame people for, feeling what they feel. And the tank, I haven't just really heard anybody complain or say praises to the tank yet. I've actually used the tank already in a game, so I do know what I think of it. But I'm going to be using it in a game later today with Phil, and I'm going to use these guys for the very first time. And once the report is done, I will do a follow-up report to explain how well this guy works and how well these guys work. And it's also going to determine if I purchase the X-Arch for these guys or not. But first, let's show off a little work here, because I like showing you my models off. I'm a very big show-off. This is the Warp Hunter. It's got a D cannon on the thing, and I rigged it so the D cannon, pops off, so I can take it off as weapon destroyed. And this is going under my Craft World's colors, which is Shadow Gray with an undercoating of, it used to be Midnight Blue, but they stopped making that color, so I replaced it with Necron Abyss, and Imperial Purple, and with Warlock Purple on top of it for secondary color. And I tend to do a lot of Wraithbone on my tanks. See, there it all is. Later I'll do a video on Wraithbone, on how I paint Wraithbone, if anyone is interested on that. I didn't get to do any highlights on him yet. That's my next part that I need to do. And what I try to do with this Eldar is I try to craft as many gems as possible on this thing. And for the most, it's actually a really easy model to build. The toughest part is this piece, getting this piece all to line up nice and straight so everything matches. But all in all, it's actually very simple. This is two pieces. This is all one piece. This piece to this piece is all one piece. It just sits right on top of the tank turret. And then this, as you saw, is a secondary piece. And then these prongs are each individual pieces as well. These are two separate pieces themselves. And this is one piece by itself. And the rest, so you basically just purchase a it gives you the new Fire Prism model tank, and you just use that Prism model back. I added these engines. I'm probably going to, even if I buy the weapon upgrade pack for them, I'm going to add the holofield pieces and all that to it. And so that's them. I did the clear cockpit case. I tried to paint up the little green edging thing that's on the bottom to give him more of like that computer readout thing. And I gave him a shrinking cannon, because this is a massive heavy support weapon, and I think it deserves more than just a twin-link shrinking catapults. And so that is that guy. For right now, and here's the Shadow Spec Aspect warriors. This is one of my favorite paint colors so far to date. Here, let's see if I can... Boop. What I tried, like, Forge World just now posted pictures of what they dub the color scheme for these guys, and I didn't like it. The X-Arch wasn't too bad. He was white with some black ribbons, but these guys, they gave him, like, this metallic green look, and I didn't really like that too much. So I wanted more of a ghostly, spectral color image, so what I did was I base coated them in Shadow Gray, and then did a dry brush of 3-to-1 mix of 3 parts Shadow Gray and 1 part Space Wolf's Gray. Then I did another mix of 2 parts Shadow Gray and 1 part Space Wolf's Gray. Then I did the third dry brush of 1-to-1 Space Wolf's Gray, Shadow Gray, and then I did a pure dry brush of Space Wolf's Gray. And then I did a whole bunch of highlights in Skull White. Now, the reason I didn't do any, like, specific, like, highlights, like, to give them this really nice thing is as one person kind of suggested to me, painting just all these funky highlights in no real controlled order gives them this abnormal, unreal look. So I kind of felt like that gave them more of this ghost image, you know, like there weren't, you know, that's not how shadows work on these things. These things are not following the rules. And I thought that gave them a nicer, more spectral look. And I did my Wraithbone trick for their guns. I didn't do much fancy colors on them because, again, because their names being Shadow Spectre Aspect Warriors, I decided, well then, they're going to try and make themselves look ghostly, and ghosts traditionally are you know, made as one solid color. So I was like, okay, I'll give them mainly one solid color. I used some Brism Brass from Cote d'Arms to do their little Aspect Warrior symbol. Didn't come out too well, but I consider this the paint test group because of a fluke. I managed to get 2 squadrons of these. And for the faces, I gave them the secondary color of the chapter's color, which is Warlock Purple. I think it's one of my favorite uses of the color. And their eyes, I stole this idea from Fortress Monastery, who he didn't really make the idea. Another one of his YouTube fans told them about the idea. Is I put mithril silver on their eyes, and then I took the wash color that I wanted them to be and did a couple of layers to give them this like metallic green look. And it actually came out really awesome. I'm going to try and test it some more and maybe start incorporating it in more of my regular Space Marines. And so I gave them green eyes because mostly my Aspect Warriors and my Far Spheres have green eyes, and the Guardians I gave them red eyes. So I figured the Troopers all have red eyes, and the Aspect Warriors have green eyes. Now for the ribbons, I did Chaos Black, and I did highlights, very light highlights, of Dark Angel's Green. I'm not very good with fabric ribbon highlighting, so I tried my best at it. And I don't know how good it came out, but I kind of gives like the illusion that it's just a really dark green, rather than just green ribbons. And I don't know if I showed you this guy yet. And then I did basically Codex Gray with a black wash over the rocks, and then flocked them to match the rest of the army. And model building wise, these guys are a little bit more of a pain in the butt because they're very flimsy here. I already had another one broke off of his rock, and like they really don't take much to break them off. And these ribbons are a pain in the butt. Mainly because they give you one that's supposed to loop around their arm, so like, I built them without them first, and then found that half of them, I should have just glued them onto their arms and then glued the arms on instead, because some of them are really flimsy now. Like, I think this is one of them. No, not one of them. Yeah, this is one of them. Like, the sealer's kind of holding it, but, like, they're barely glued on there. And then they have these two annoying ribbons that go in the back, and that took me a little bit to figure out exactly how they're supposed to be positioned. But depending on the way the other ribbons go, it makes it a little bit tough to get them on there. But, you know, I debated not putting them on, but then my girlfriend kind of agreed that it kind of gives them a fuller look and less of a 2D look on them, so it kind of like makes them pop a little bit more and gives them a nicer flow of motion, which, so I agreed with it, and so I glued them on there. And then I glossed over them completely. I gave them a high gloss coating because they're supposed to have holofields on. And for me, I feel the best way to represent holofields on troopers is to give them this shiny, sleek look, because holofields are supposed to distort their image and such, so I feel this is them when they're standing still, and when they start moving, you know, that glossy reflective image starts vibrating back and forth. So that's the models right now. I will come back and I will tell you how they did in my official thoughts game-wise on both models.
Okay guys, I'm back. It's been a few days since I had the game because I had to take a moment to gather up from the searing rage that I went through after this game. I never thought I would hate 6-up saves as much as I do now because of this game. Let me just put a little bit of perspective here. I don't know what happened, but my friend Phil, who I played with he played with the new Sister of Battle Codex, and he is just, I can't beat him now. He's become godly compared to me in this game, and I used to be able to go toe-to-toe with him. Now I'm like picking and scrounging for ways to beat him, and I just can't. And just so you know, statistics can go bite me right now. I mean, let me just do an example here. For those who may not know, in the new Sisters of Battle White Dwarf Codex, all models, their tanks and everything, have a 6-up invuln save. And I'm sitting here going, okay, you know, 6-up invuln save, it's not too bad. He never fails them. I mean, my anti-tank squad here, and this guy, this whole stuff, which is all really anti-tank, could not wound. I was wounding him, I was, you know, getting glancing hits and penetrating hits left and right, and he just kept saving. And we played 2 games, because I wanted a rematch, because I couldn't think he'd have the same luck in 2 games, and he did. And looking at it, the number of times he passed his 6+ invuln save, the chances of that happening in 2 games was 1 in 46,656. And he did this consecutively. Like, it wasn't like, oh, he failed one and then he passed. No, each single time I hit his tanks in each round, he passed the 6-up invuln save. So I was just like, ah! He wasn't even trying. He wasn't looking at the die. Nothing. He was every way he rolled it, his tanks would always survive. And so it was really annoying. And so, okay, now that I got that little tidbit out of the way, I apologize. It's just, I was a lot more angrier earlier in the week after this happened. But you just can see my frustration. I don't see how we could pass the same save 9 times in a row. But neither here nor there. We're going to do a review first of how effective I think these guys are. First, we're going to go with this guy, the Warp Hunter. Phenomenal tank. I really hope it's in the new Eldar Codex. This thing is a monster. Despite its bad luck in these 2 games, I did play with it with another game, and it was just ripping things apart because of the D-Cannon rules. For those who don't know, D-Cannon's wounds on 2s regardless of toughness, because it's opening up a hole into warp space. It's basically making a temporary warp portal that rips everything apart. And because it's basically ripping a hole in the fabric of space-time to expose the warp. And so it wounds on 2s, and on tanks it does on a 3 or 4 it's a glancing hit, on a 5 and a 6 it's a pen hit regardless of armor value. And it can turn this cannon into a flame template, which has a 6-inch range from the tip of the gun. So as long as the tip of the flamer is within 6 inches of the gun, bam, And so it just was wrecking things like no end, and it was just a very dirty weapon in combat. It is phenomenal. I used to be a very big fan of the Fire Prism Cannon, and I've kind of switched boat ships to this guy a lot more, because I think it's a little bit more effective than the Fire Prism, especially since it is a barrage weapon. So with like troop heavy armies, you can just really like flare out and do some nasty damage with this thing. Now, so all in all, definitely worth the buy. Really should be in the new Codex a lot. I highly agree. I think that, and I think most people kind of agree with that. It's a very awesome tank to have for the Eldar. Now, these guys, they get a lot of grief and a lot of beef. No one likes them a lot. Everyone thinks the Dark Reapers are better. Honestly, after playing with them, I think they're just as good, and I don't see the problem with their point costs. I mean, they were phenomenally good at doing some good board control and anti-tank. So against tank-heavy armies, these guys are great. What was phenomenal about them is the fact, you know, Ghostlight rips through a lot of armor, especially because it becomes a strength 10 lance shot, so you glance on 2s. So it's perfect. It's a very versatile group. The 60-inch range gives them basically nice coverage of the entire board. And the fact that the X-Arch can make them reroll Ghostlight and can shoot at different areas, so like against Rhinos, you know, you have the 4 of them Ghostlight and then the X-Arch fire separately, so you get 2 shots into a Rhino, you know, get at least, you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself 1 pen and 1 glance with these guys. Nearly all the time. And what was really great is the whole fact that they do the move, shoot, move. They can, you know, move, shoot, move into cover. And it's, you know, very effective. They're a very speed-type based army. 12-inch range is a little but it doesn't really hurt them. Especially like in this game, we were doing Annihilation, and I had them in deep strut in reserves. So it took forever for them to get out for me, you know, bad luck on my part, but when they did come out, pretty much all of his tanks, except for 1, was in one area, because my Eldar were confined in one spot, because the Sisters are now really great at shooting, and so I wanted to get them closer to my Eldar, which were more based for close combat. So when they dropped, all of his tanks were in one spot, so they literally, like, if he wasn't passing the save, they would have went bam, 1 tank, bam, another tank, bam, another tank, bam, another tank, and just rip apart all of his tanks, basically, you know, killing a tank a turn. Even Phil, who is a lot better with, like, you know, deducing models and strategies, and I've even heard Fortress Monastery commenting that they're not that bad, you know, they're not as bad as people say they are. But Phil himself was sitting there going, you know, at first I didn't really think they were that great, but now that I've seen them in play, they're definitely worth the point cost. I disagree, like, he agrees with me that the point cost issue that everyone has with them and the 12-inch range is, you know, it's minor, it's like one of those, it's a minor detail, you know, it's an irk, but it's not enough to make them not worth putting in your army, especially if you're going up against, like, a tank-heavy Imperial Guard or stuff like that. They're very nice in that front. And the whole fact that they can move, shoot, move is just a nice perk with them. And, you know, it's just in general, I think it's, like I said, I think they're worth the point costs. Now that I've played with them, like, when I wasn't playing, I think the biggest thing is you have to play with them first to really see the benefit of having them. And all honestly, I think having a squad of them and a squad of Dark Reapers would be a nice, you know, general control group, you know, because you have them for taking out tanks, because it's basically a movable prism cannon, and you have the Dark Reapers for taking out your troops. But in general, like I said, I think that they are definitely worth their point costs. If you guys don't agree with me, you know, that's perfectly fine. I'm just giving, you know, after, like, at first I was kind of agreeing, like, you know, they may not be that great, but after playing with them, I kind of disagree now. I think they are worth their point costs, and I'm glad that I have them and another squadron that I have to paint up. But I'm going to do a different color scheme. One guy was thinking, like, the game store, let's see if I can, was thinking that that purple on their face would look better on the ribbons. That would make them pop. So I'm gonna do. So what do you guys think? Do you kind of think, you know, the black Dark Angel green looks better? Or do you think, you know, having that purple, that Warlock purple, Imperial purple, Warlock purple coating would look better on those ribbons? So let me guys think. I'm going to take a little break from painting these guys up and paint the other Warp Hunter, because I have 2 of each of these guys. And you guys let me know what you think, you know. Put, like, I guess I'll do the Fortress Monastery way of doing votes. Put in parentheses what you think the color should be. But that's it. That's my review here. So that's it for now. I guess, okay, I did mention I was going to talk about the little video thing that I'm doing. I now work for a website called gengame.net. I'll put a link in the description, and I do videos of video games that are still available and relatively new, but the whole shtick is, you know, it's Under the Rock is called the show, where old games feel like new. I'm reviewing games that have been out for a while but are still relatively available, but they've been out for a point where reviewing them now would be, you know, you'd have to be living under a rock to think that reviewing them is relevant. So that's the whole shtick that I'm going with it. I'll be doing some reviews, I'll be doing some Let's Plays. I have a couple of videos. I think I have 2 videos. I'm not sure if the second one is going to be up by the time this video is posted on YouTube. It might be. If not, definitely the first one's going to be Red Faction Guerrilla. That's still up on the site. And they're a really awesome video game website in general. They're pretty on top of some of the latest news, and they've got some really interesting articles and things going. They're they're doing a big Minecraft build off right now. I don't know if it's still going on. Like, I'm very much under the rock with this thing. You know, I'm the last to find out what's going on with the show, and usually when I find out, it's already over. But they're going to start doing more. They're going to start. One member is going to start doing more coverage of League of Legends. And so you guys definitely should give them a try out and see what's going on with them. And so that is all for right now. And until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.